Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we're going to be revisiting the content cop that keeps on giving, well, content. So a few days ago, Idubbbz released his content cop on H3, aka Ethan Klein, and as the dust has settled, we've gotten a lot of additional context that has made this situation even more ridiculous. Now we have Ethan Klein coming out and making his official response to this content cop, providing additional context as well as some very disturbing details about the surrounding circumstances. Now you can see right now the dislikes continue to climb, over 447,000 dislikes versus 348,000 likes. It's safe to say this has been dislike bombed pretty hard and for good reason. Who thought this would have been a good idea? Where Idubbbz revitalizes his content cop series that he said was too mean-spirited to ever open up again. He uses that to backstab his former friend while employing the help of all of his greatest haters to paint Ethan Klein as some unhinged lunatic who's crashing out over absolutely nothing while ignoring important context like the harassment he's faced, the fake CPS calls that the related communities have encouraged against his family that actually ended up with a call being made, and also the human skulls being sent in the mail to his family. Yes, human skulls sent in the mail. That is the latest detail we just found out from Ethan Klein on this situation, as you can see. But of course, trying to paint him as the villain has backfired because, well, he's the one who's been reacting to a torrent of harassment and deranged behavior for quite some time now. And when you think about this, they really try to frame this content cop, especially at the end, as something that was supposed to be empathetic. Like, they're trying to help out Ethan Klein because he's going through a tough time. He's lost his mind. He's crashing out. Well, of course, doing nothing but mocking him, harassing him, and trying to further more of the bad stuff that is happening to him. And now we have the official response from Ethan Klein on the H3 channel. And you can see my response to Idubbbz. And you can see the reaction to this is completely different than the content cop. So in the first 24 hours, it has a like-dislike ratio of about 97%. Compare that to about the 40% on the content cop. This has been a completely different reaction, and also understand that the communities that he is responding to here are rabid. Okay, I'm not surprised if some of them are going on 5 different accounts trying to put dislikes on this video, but it's still not working. I'm actually pretty impressed by how high the support is for this video, but it makes sense given the context with the content cop. Now, in this response video, he lays out some important context and additional details, mainly how Idubbbz was so manipulative, especially with some of the clips he was using in the beginning of the video, trying to paint Ethan Klein and even his wife, Hila, as these unhinged lunatics who are just lashing out at all these innocent parties that helped contribute to the content cop, that he was crashing out, that he was just losing his mind. Well, of course, Idubbbz during all this leaves out all of the relevant context and tries to manipulate it to make Ethan Klein the villain.
I've enjoyed your content over the years, and as of late, it's gotten really fucking shitty.
Yeah, so go fuck yourself.
I agree.
Who else? Who else do we want to burn today?
Who else do we want to burn today? You're making it so fucking obvious that this is your emotional dumping ground. It's horrible. This is not what podcasts are. There was a way to approach this to say like, yeah, we feel hurt by you guys not saying something. You've decided to do the extra thing and attack. Now, in fairness, I am attacking back, but I feel very insulted and I feel defensive and I feel like I am speaking up for a lot of people who have problems with you and a lot of people who have been on the receiving end of your harassment.
So I feel like if you didn't have any additional context, you would probably already be able to see through this facade and how much of an unbearable person Idubbbz has become. Such a condescending attitude, a holier-than-thou attitude that he has really made his entire personality at this point. But what we're referring to here is the lack of context. The clips we just saw and many of the clips shown to prove Ethan Klein's unhinged nature was from this podcast from about a month ago. And you can see the title, Snark called Child Protective Services on us. So Snark is a subreddit completely dedicated to attacking Ethan and his family. That's all they do. And people believe they were part of the reason this whole CPS call came through. Now, in Idubbbz content cop that's supposed to be fair and impartial, he never once, not a single time, mentioned the CPS call, nor did he mention anything that would give any sort of grace to Ethan Klein in this situation, because this podcast that he made was the same day he had CPS called on his family over absolute nonsense, over people trying to manipulate and exploit that system to try to harm his family simply because they don't like his opinions on things. It's completely unhinged. We talked about it before, and now we're going to be looking at some of the additional context here provided by Ethan Klein. Now, in his response and in the content cop itself, there's a little kerfuffle about this kind of falling out over associations with some problematic people. In the video, Idubbbz says, he was trying to friend police me by saying I can't associate with people like, I don't know, Denim's TV. And Ethan would say it's not just because you follow them on social media, it's because you're actively engaging with people who are saying terrible, awful things about me and my family and contributing to this harassment campaign, and you seem like you're at the very least okay with it by continuing to associate with these people, just, both Idubbbz and his wife, Anissa. And you can see from this, it was never about trying to help out Ethan Klein, all that moral grandstanding. It was just a shield for them to go after him for over an hour, attacking his character and trying to frame him as some crazy person. Now, of course, he's going to provide some of the context here and show that whole CPS situation and how so many people involved with the production of the content cop were encouraging the sort of hysteria around a lot of the fake information that was being spread about what was going on with his family.
Now, why am I mad at Ian for this? Well, let's start here. Denims is someone he's accusing me of in his video of harassing. Let's see what Denim said about my children 3 days before CPS was called.
He lets his dogs shit all over his mansion, and he just leaves the shit on the floor, something that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is suing him for a number of different reasons. So I would assume he doesn't actually have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids crawl into the dog shit, and God forbid, I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they eat it, or if it's just from contact with it with their hands or something. But they contracted a parasite that I had previously never heard of in my life called Giardia from the dog shit that is all over.
So again, I talked about this in a previous video about a month ago, but to give some additional context, this guy, Bad Empanada here, who's reporting this, is acting like this is some rare unknown disease called Giardia. And that was something that over 1 million Americans a year suffer from, and we had literal pediatric nurses coming out and saying stuff like this happens to kids. They have a 3-year-old kid who's crawling around on the ground. They had a dog that they just got who was a rescue who had a stomach virus and clearly couldn't control itself in a new environment. And at some point, the 3-year-old must have crawled into it before someone noticed the leavings were on the ground and they got sick. And again, all these pediatric nurses came out and said, this is the kind of stuff they deal with every single day. They don't see a single red flag. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it sounds like it happened. But this person's making it sound like they're going around rolling around this stuff, that they're eating it, that it's it's everywhere in their house, that it's completely unsafe. And you can see the logs here that people have gathered together of these sorts of reactions. And are you surprised that this happening 3 days before the CPS call is not much of a coincidence?
It's true, dude. How is it that maybe once a week I look into what Ethan Klein's been up to, and every time I manage to find more and more terrible shit. This is where.
And that's kind of like with this Bad Empanada person, because this video that they're reacting to, Denims is reacting to, is very key to this whole thing where a lot of this stuff really heated up. And it's the more I look at this guy, the more unhinged he is. We talk about Frogan with her quote about how she thinks American soldiers deserve PTSD. He said this: every U.S. veteran gay-manning themselves is a criminal bringing themselves to justice. I think this is actually worse than the Frogan line. Then you see that he was celebrating in multiple chats when CPS was abused in order to target Ethan Klein's family over this matter. And then you also see this bizarre Instagram story that he released pretty recently where he said, the 26th and 27th of April, there is another surprise for you, Ethan. Enjoy the ruining of your life. And this is one of the clips from that story.
Tick tock goes the clock. Tick tock, tick tock. If you thought it was bad today, my friend, you just wait and see what else we have in store for you.
Yeah, I mean, they all seem like really, really normal people, but you can see, based on this whole interaction here, the chat was getting very riled up by this, and it's no coincidence that, 3 days later, there was a CPS call made. Now let's look at one more part here where Idubbbz tries to justify a CPS call on kids because, well, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, they probably won't remember what happens during something like that.
I want you to create any bad memory here for them. Like, they are 5 and 3. They don't understand this shit. So I told him,
create any bad memory for them. You're not forming memories at 3 years old, and it's very rare that you're forming memories at 5 years old. Now, yes, you are. No, you're not. When we're talking about being able to remember, being able to recall memories, it's like 4 is the cutoff. But even if you are forming any memories at 4, you're not going to be able to remember them past like 15.
Yeah, you get it. She wears many hats. She's an expert in many different fields and is able to make very bold statements like this, basically saying that a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, who cares if they make there's a false CPS report made on their family and now the kids have to be interviewed. Who cares what happens because they won't remember it anyways, which is total BS, by the way. And also, what a chilling effect that would have if you use that as a standard for all kids across the world, right? So, like, nothing matters. As long as they're not, like, physically harmed, nothing matters because they're 3 and 5. Like, what? An absolutely deranged thing to say here. And, like, don't you see why someone would be uncomfortable with this person being friends with you or your wife when they're talking about your family like that? And it gets even worse. There's other clips like this where she tried to imply that Hila, Ethan's wife, was a child killer.
and
I mean,
if you opened the
Guys, the IDF member is bringing us back to reality. Okay? The IDF member is bravely taking a break from killing unarmed children to bring us back to reality.
What a wild and gross thing to say. And also, for those who don't know, the IDF is something that anyone born in Israel, like his wife, Hila, they have to participate when they turn 18. So she uses that as an opportunity to imply that she was game-ending unarmed children during her service, which is a outlandishly slanderous thing to say, but also something that apparently is pretty funny to people like Hassan Piker, who was reacting to the response that Ethan Klein made recently, and this is how he reacted to that whole segment we just looked at.
The boy could be an actor, you know what I mean?
Idubbbz, who literally calls my wife a baby killer, amongst other insane, terrible things.
All right, he's just like, dude, this is such a funny way to react to this.
Am I missing something, guys? Am I missing the joke here? Like, what is so funny? Are we watching an episode of Bro Tips? Some classic Hassan Piker stuff here. Like, is that what we're laughing at? Because I don't understand what's so funny about someone implying that their wife is a baby killer. Like, what is so hilarious about that? And of course, he has no actual argument as to why that was acceptable whatsoever. Why Ethan is so wrong for being offended by that. He's just like, oh, dude, okay, dude, as per usual. But anyways, in Ethan's response, we would get another very disturbing round of information here. It wasn't just the CPS call around that time. There was another very disturbing development that he's going to explain right now.
There's something that I've never talked about publicly, but around the same time, we received 2 human skulls in the mail at our home, which led us to having a very pleasant interview with the FBI. Things have progressed well past the point of that's just what the internet does. Ian had a recent revelation. He's transcended into a new person. He's achieved nirvana and discovered empathy at age 32.
I think only in these past couple of years have I gained the ability empathy, and I'm very ashamed to admit that.
So yeah, obviously things have gotten to a level that is absolutely disgusting. Someone's sending what is alleged to be human skulls to his home. Like, how messed up is that? How does anyone sit there and try to rationalize what's going on here? And of course, I guarantee you, every single person on this screen right now you're looking at, not a single one of them will say that's too far. Not a single one of them will say anything remotely close to sending human skulls to someone's house because you don't like their opinions is a bit too far. None of them will say it. In fact, what we're actually seeing is people in this whole crowd playing defense. They're already trying to defend themselves. You have that bad Empanada individual once again making statements on YouTube saying, imagine getting destroyed so bad for genocide apologia that you are reduced to trying to play the victim by buying novelty human skulls, claiming that someone else sent them to you as a threat and posting pictures of them with the tags from the store you bought them from still plainly visible. Zionists will do literally anything to avoid reckoning with the reality of their ideology. That's very, well, let's just say cope. Okay, at this point, they're trying to say that they're buying this stuff for themselves and then also getting the FBI involved. So they're going to buy fake props and then get a federal agency involved, which, by the way, would be a false report that would be illegal. They would risk all of that for this unnecessary step. They don't need any more sympathy right now. They're winning this whole battle. Okay, we're seeing cope here. Oh, they're winning. They're, Ian and all these guys, they're winning, and Ethan's losing so hard he has to resort to this. No, everyone with 2 functioning eyeballs and a few brain cells can understand the optics of the situation. The content cop blew up in Ian's face and everyone involved, and now we're having these additional details coming out that make all of these people involved in this harassment campaign look even more foolish. And again, the burden's on them to prove that this stuff is fake. You want to make an allegation that this stuff is fake, well, it's on you. And also, it's the message being sent. Well, it looks like very real skulls being sent in the mail, 2 of which, by the way, and also, coincidentally, he has 2 children. So I think the message is very clear, and any normal person would find this very disturbing and would rightfully report it to the authorities, which is exactly what happened. Now, moving on with this and wrapping it up for today, a lot of people are starting to speculate about Creator Clash 3. This is Idubbbz's big celebrity boxing event with content creators and alike. And it turns out that Jake Paul recently announced that his next boxing event will be on the same day as Creator Clash 3, which will definitely take away some of the traction for Ian, who's dealing with a lot because some people are obviously going to get a lot of pressure for continuing with this event after everything that's happened. And boy, the sales aren't looking great. With only a few months to go, the blue here is the available seats for Creator Clash 3. It's not looking good. He has definitely reaped what he has sown, and he's going to continue to. Idubbbz and his fall off here is painful to watch. I don't care who you are. This is really the bad ending of any YouTuber like this. But for now, that's all we have with the recent updates regarding this situation. I know that I believe by the time this video is live, I think Ethan's going to be streaming again, talking more about this, and I'm sure there's even more details, so I'll keep you posted on that. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.